Hey there guys, so yeah, just going to be doing a quick prediction video for this Artur Beterbiev versus Callum Smith fight that's coming up in a few weeks' time. And it's quite an interesting fight in my opinion, and one that carries more jeopardy now that the Artur Beterbiev versus Beterbiev fight is apparently agreed to take place in Saudi Arabia. Whether it will or not obviously remains to be seen, but yeah, this fight definitely carries that jeopardy if that fight is going to happen next. And I think Callum Smith does pose some threat to Beterbiev. I think it's a more difficult fight than some are saying. But how difficult he will be, I'll discuss in this video. So, I've seen a lot of people writing off Callum Smith, saying that he struggled against Canelo, and if he can't compete with Canelo, how's he going to compete with Beterbiev? And then I've seen the other side of the coin where people are giving Callum Smith a very good chance to win this fight, and saying, even some saying that he's going to knock him out, and become the new champion. Look, the Canelo fight obviously wasn't a real fight. If you know what a real fight is, that clearly wasn't one. I mean, Callum Smith obviously wasn't there to win the fight, like Billy any of Canelo's opponents actually are. He just stood there like a punching bag, standing against the ropes, throwing no punches, just letting Canelo just tee off on him with haymakers. And he obviously wasn't there to win the fight because he wasn't supposed to. And I would expect him to, at least try to win this fight and open up a lot. I expect him to actually, try to hit Beterbiev with power shots. Unlike what he did against Canelo, which is just stand there on the ropes. So I definitely think he's going to put in a better performance, even if he, gets stopped eventually. And I think, people saying that Smith is a dangerous opponent, I think they are correct in saying that. I think Callum Smith is a difficult opponent for Beterbiev stylistically. I'd say he's a more difficult opponent than someone like Anthony Yarde was. Callum Smith is quite a good counter puncher. He's very good at catching you on the way in with a left hook. And obviously he's a very big light heavyweight. He's a very big puncher for the weight. He's definitely filled into the weight a lot more. It's more of his natural weight. He's not having to train himself like he was to make super middleweight. And he's looked quite good in two of his fights at light heavyweight so far. I know they haven't been against very good competition, but at super middleweight he was a bit inconsistent with his performance, probably just because he was killing himself to make the weight. But at light heavyweight so far he's excelled. He's got 2 early knockout victories, and everyone knows about the power he carries in the left hook. He scored some devastating knockouts against the likes of I remember the Luke Blackledge knockout, and in his last fight against Bowdaleek. So I definitely think Callum Smith poses some threats to Beterbiev. We've seen Beterbiev get caught on the way in. In his last fight he was getting caught on the way in by Anthony Yarde. And sometimes Beterbiev does get caught on the way in. Sometimes, he comes in sort of in straight lines. And yeah, he gets caught on the way in quite clean. So I think Smith definitely has a chance. But again, I think I'd probably say Callum Smith has a puncher's chance. I don't think, I don't think Callum Smith is going to be able to win a decision. I think Beterbiev, he's obviously a lot higher volume. He's got better skills than Smith. Beterbiev was an elite level amateur. He was beating the likes of Usyk in the amateurs. And Beterbiev is quite high volume. And I've never seen Callum Smith as a very good boxer. He's not really able to keep guys at range. He hasn't really got very good long range boxing. I don't think he's got very good defense at all. I think his guard is quite flimsy. I think he's a bit stiff, and I just don't see him as a very effective boxer. I think Beterbiev will be able to outbox him in this fight. I think he'll probably outwork him in most of the rounds. I don't think Smith is going to win a decision, unless he knocks Beterbiev down multiple times, which I don't see happening. So I think it's going to be a good fight to look at to compare, how Callum Smith is going to perform is probably the John Ryder fight. Most people, including myself, thought John Ryder beat Callum Smith. And that fight really exposed a lot of Smith's weaknesses. Just as I was saying with the long-range boxing, Smith couldn't really keep Ryder at range. John Ryder was just able to close the distance whenever he picked his moments to attack. He was able to get inside very easily. And I think he really exposed Callum Smith's deficiencies on the inside. Smith is someone who can't really fight inside. He can't really defend himself inside. And when John Ryder got inside, he was able to just throw a flurry and land most of his shots. And John Ryder's quite. He's a very patient fighter. He's not someone who will absolutely go all out, like throwing punches for 3 minutes of the round. He definitely picks his moments to attack. He is a guy who is very patient, and I think Beterbiev will attack more consistently. I don't think Beterbiev is as patient as John Ryder is. I think he will definitely be more willing to attack, and I think he will really start to get inside on Callum Smith. And the difference between John Ryder and Artur Beterbiev's bigger, hits a lot harder. Beterbiev's a better fighter than John Ryder. And if Beterbiev is able to get inside on Callum Smith like John Ryder was, I don't see Callum Smith being able to go the distance. I think, he definitely gets stopped. So, I think a Callum Smith victory, if he's going to get a victory, is probably going to be, maybe a knockout in like the first 5 rounds or so. I think it's possible just because he's got good counter punching, and he's a very big puncher. And sometimes Beterbiev does start a bit slow. When he's just trying to, measure the range, work his opponents out. Sometimes he does start a bit slow. Maybe Smith could, come out really fast and try and catch him. But I don't think it's that likely, to be honest. Beterbiev, when he's at range, does have very good defense. He doesn't get caught clean very consistently at all. He's quite elusive. He's got very good footwork. He's able to get out of distance very effectively. And yeah, I don't see Smith being able to really catch him from range. I think Beterbiev might pick him off from range, even though Smith is a much bigger man and he's got a height and reach advantage. I think Beterbiev will outbox him. So I think Callum Smith really only has one real opportunity to win this fight, and that's catching him on the way in with something big. And I don't think it's that likely, to be honest. I think, in all likelihood, Beterbiev and his team, that's probably what they've really been preparing for, not getting caught on the way in. Callum Smith is fairly one-dimensional, that everyone knows that that's what he's trying to do, land the left hook, catch you on the way in with that catch and counter. And Beterbiev and his team are definitely going to have prepared for that extensively. How I think this fight is going to go, I think in the early rounds I think it's going to be quite cagey. Maybe like the first round they're just going to like feel each other out. I think it's going to be a fairly slow start, but I think as the rounds go on, I think Beterbiev will start to really get inside. I think he'll start to outwork Callum Smith on the inside, and I don't really see Smith having that much success, to be honest. If he doesn't catch him on the way in with something big, I think Smith will get stopped in this fight. I think Beterbiev will just have a bit too much for him. I think he will probably be well up on the scorecards at the time of the stoppage, and I think Beterbiev will stop Callum Smith mid to late rounds. If I had to guess, it would probably be like rounds 9 or something like that. I just think Beterbiev is the better fighter. I think he's a better boxer. He's got better footwork. He's much better on the inside. Better defense, better chin. Well, Callum Smith's got a good chin. He's never been down in his career. Beterbiev has been down, but I think Beterbiev's chin is good enough. And I just think Beterbiev is a level above Callum Smith. But again, Callum Smith does have a puncher's chance if he can catch him on the way in. But yeah, I'm going with Artur Beterbiev to win by late stoppage. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And yeah, thanks for watching, and God bless.